Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good evening.
Happy Tuesday. It's another episode of the Black Girl's Guide to Natural Medicine. It is February, and so we are doing Heart Health Month. Yay. Last week, we talked about nutrition and heart health and had a good conversation. And this week, we are going to talk about exercise. And while I know a little something, I'm not a resident exercise expert. That is Coach Cece. She is our health coach and our exercise physiologist. And so today is going to be a conversation, but I do have a couple of questions that I kind of want to ask Coach Cece that I've been asked often by patients. So let's start with our usual spiel. And also, if you guys are listening via audio, we do record on YouTube. We stream it in our Facebook group. So, of course, if you haven't joined the Facebook group, make sure you send a request to join. And then a couple of days later, it goes up on our YouTube channel. And so you can kind of see us and see the silly faces we're making and see why we're kind of giggling in the background. But I just put up our disclaimer that this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Please consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health regimen. All right. And also, don't forget to subscribe and rate. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate you. And then if you're watching on the YouTube, watching the podcast on YouTube, hey friend, go ahead and subscribe. Thank you so much. All right, Coach Cece, why is exercise important for our heart health? I think it's a very general question. It To some it seems like a basic question, but I think people would be surprised at the number of benefits that exercise gives us. So, can you start off just with some general reasons why exercise is important for us?
Yes. So exercise is important. My primary reason is that it gives you, and you guys remember, even though I do pull from a lot of the scientific background, I also like to bring in the energetics because there's been a lot of increased awareness of the fact that we are not just physical beings. We are not like robots or cars, but that we operate as a whole system. And that as that system is working together, things that we do that affect how we are feeling also affects how our metabolic physical health is. So that being said, I think one of the greatest benefits of exercise is that it gives you confidence. I think exercise helps you to feel confident in your body. It helps you feel confident in the movements that you make. You maybe had trouble with your balance after breaking a leg and you do the exercise and now you can walk without the crutches and now you're walking better and you feel stronger and healthier. Or any various reasons why you may have lacked confidence in your movement. Maybe you had knee pain because you had a little extra weight on your body. And even if you didn't lose weight, sometimes just exercising can reduce that discomfort in your knee. So the first benefit of exercise is that it helps you to feel more confident, which gives you a mental health boost. Exercise also helps to boost serotonin levels and help your body to uptake serotonin into your bloodstream and get it into your body so that you feel good. And when you feel good, it decreases the inflammation in your body. So that in itself helps to improve your heart health. The heart can have these inflammatory processes that go on, whether it's from your diet, whether it's from your lifestyle, whether it's from your genetic predispositions, that you've inherited from your family. So when that inflammation is there, the things that help to reduce that inflammation include exercise because of the hormone releases that you get when you exercise, and also because of the way that exercise helps your body to mobilize unwanted things. When you exercise, you sweat, which allows your body to detox, and you're removing these toxins from your body. When you exercise, your body temperature heats up and you're starting to kind of warm up those fats and things that need to get up out of there. You're burning up those extra
Yeah,
sugars that are floating around. Go ahead.
you bring up such a good point about exercise and its role in supporting us in detoxification. Um, I think I don't know, we talked so much. I think we talked about this on the past episode. I don't know. But you know, our skin is our major detox organ. And so exercise not only helps us sweat, but also the muscle contractions help stimulate our lymphatic system, and our
Yeah.
lymphatic system is like our recycling center in our body. It flushes all of the toxins and antigens and bacterial pieces that our immune system kind of detects. And so, yeah, that's a piece of exercise I really hadn't considered and kind of forgot about until you mentioned that. So, yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's
Keep
good. I
going.
love talking with you. So yeah, the exercise has all because the main benefit that probably people expected me to say was when you exercise, your heart is a muscle, so it's strengthening the health of
Yes,
your
exactly.
heart, and it's you're burning fat.
Yes.
So when you're burning fat, you're helping your body to be more healthy, and all those things are true. But I had a feeling most people already knew that, so I just wanted to bring in
Yeah.
some aspects that people don't always think about because it's not just about the things that it does for you physically. It actually can change how your body is feeling emotionally, psychologically, energetically, all that good stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I was prepping for this episode, I was doing a little bit of research and I was reading a paper from the American Heart Association 20 years ago, almost 21 years ago. And they
Okay, so
reported that
early
at that
2000s.
time, I know, I was like,
I'm like, how long ago was
2000.
it? Was I
I was like,
alive then? Because
2003
I'm
was
so
20
young.
years ago.
Right, I'm young. I wasn't even alive then.
Okay, I was barely alive. Okay, barely in thought. It's like, oh my God, 2003 is 20 years ago. Yo. But yeah, 20 years ago, they said that back then, about 250,000 deaths were attributed to a lack of physical exercise. Now, that was 20 years ago.
Yeah,
And they've now updated it saying that actually exercise has been found to prevent nearly 4 million deaths every year. So 4 million fewer people die every year because they pick up a regular exercise regimen.
yeah,
So that's one of the reasons why exercise is so important for our heart health. But also, I found that it was interesting that the risk of a cardiac event, so having a stroke or a heart attack,
yeah,
of course, we know it's significantly lower in those who are regular exercisers. But what I didn't realize is that a sedentary person, so someone who is not really very active, you're mostly like sitting for work, and then you come home and you're sitting on the couch or laying down, you're not really having a lot of um, moments of moving your body. A sedentary person is nearly 50 times more likely or more at risk of having a cardiac event than someone who works out 5 days a week.
yeah.
Like that stat just about blew my head open.
It's amazing. There was another one. Now I don't have the data with me, so I'd have to look it up. But they were saying that even if you go and exercise vigorously for an hour a day, but you spend the rest of your day sedentary, meaning you're sitting, 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 like you don't get up to walk and
Mm,
get some water, or you don't get up and take a walk around the office on a break, that it still puts you at a higher risk for a cardiovascular event because most of the time you're sedentary. So it's
dang.
being almost completely sedentary because there are people like that who really just don't get up for doing much other than eating, going to
Yeah.
the bathroom. But then also
Yeah.
being kind of in this weird, I don't know if there's a term for it, but this sedentary state where you do exercise real hard for an hour, but the rest of your day you are sitting, sitting, sitting,
Yeah.
sitting. So
Yeah.
that so
Yeah.
not that you shouldn't exercise, but that it should be movement throughout the day. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Still do
So
that
that's
exercise.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because I have an Aura ring, this ring on my index finger, and then I also have an Apple Watch. And they both, if you are sedentary for like 50 minutes out of the hour, they'll send you a notification like, "Hey, girl, you want to stretch your legs? You want to move around a little bit?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's a good idea. Let me go ahead and do that."
What?
So there is a benefit to that. They're not just trying to annoy us.
That's right. It's like physics, body in motion stays in motion. So if you're sedentary, you're leaving
Yeah,
your body in that sedentary state. So just moving regularly throughout the day. If you're not ready to start an exercise program, just saying, okay, every hour or two, I'm going to get up and like walk around the living room or whatever. Just start something small.
yeah,
March with your legs at the desk, like sit there and march your legs, reach up and stretch. Just some type of movement that is more than hunched over the computer.
annoy. Yeah, it's hilarious because it's just interesting because I was talking to a friend of mine, and my company, we're doing a walk across America. So you have different teams, and you track your steps every day, and then the amount of steps you do equates to your distance
Yeah.
across America, if that makes sense. So I've been uniquely focused on my steps and being more active because I'm a little competitive, just a little bit. Um, but um, it's really interesting how you can kind of easily get into a routine of, okay, this time of day is the time I'm going to go walk, and it may take a couple of days, and sometimes weeks to kind of make that a habit, but once you do, it kind of really just clicks in there. And I said that to say, when I was watching the Blue Zone documentary
Oh,
on
yeah.
Netflix, yes, amazing, right? Because I honestly, I want to live till I'm 100. But med school stressed me out so much, I'll probably die at like 95.
You can
It
recoup. You
definitely,
can recoup those 5 years.
that's my goal. But if I don't make it, I'm blaming med school 100%. And a little bit them kids,
I was about to say,
just a
I was
little
going to
bit.
say, and parenting, but
Yeah,
they do
yeah.
have a nice
So
balance of joy that they bring you, so maybe it offsets.
that's true. Maybe I'll break even. Yes. But they found that those who live to be about 100 or over 100, one of the things that they do every day or just about every day is they sit on the floor. They get down on the floor, whether it's cleaning or enjoying a
Gardening or something.
meal or whatever, gardening, anything like that. But the process of standing up, all of the muscles you use to go from a seated position to standing up, you're using a ton of muscles in your body. And
Especially
that
from
process of, exactly, from the floor, because girl, like even now, I'm like, whoo, where's my turmeric and my frankincense, Lord? But that process of sitting and standing really strengthens your heart, strengthens your muscles, and researchers have attributed that to being one of the reasons why they live to be 100. So
Yeah.
anytime I get down on the floor to clean up my kids' toys, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna
You're
make it
like,
to
amen.
100.
Thank
It's
you.
fine.
Thank you for the
Yes,
exercise.
they gotta
And
count them blessings, okay?
I don't want to forget this when we talk more later, but there is a pretty strong significance between being able to rise from a chair, a standard height chair, so not like a really tall chair, without
Mhm.
having to use your arms to push yourself up, and being able to climb
Mm,
stairs with independence. So just having that
okay.
muscle strength in your body, also the strength in your hands, is a good one
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Okay, without using my hands. Okay, but what if the couch is like mad soft? Like, and I gotta
Yeah,
use my hands
think
to.
of a standard height chair, but work on
Okay,
getting
cool, cool, cool. A regular chair. Okay.
but work on getting up from that soft couch without your hands, because the more you do those types of things, the stronger you're making your legs and the stronger you're making your body as a whole, right?
Cool. Yes, we
Oh,
will remember that.
before we move on, I wanted to
Yeah.
just mention the other reasons why it's important to exercise. So obesity is kind of like the central characteristic of heart disease. It's kind of like one of the number one, like if you have obesity, you're at a very high risk. Now, that's not for
Yeah.
every single person, because I've worked with some people who are heavy for various reasons, whether it's medical, genetic, whatever, and they don't have any markers for heart disease. So it doesn't mean if you're heavy,
Mhm.
you automatically are at risk for heart disease, but it is the most common link. So exercise can help you to combat obesity. But I know there are people out there who are like, oh, I've exercised, I've gone to a personal trainer, I couldn't lose a pound. That is why we look at natural medicine and we start looking at what is blocking our body from
Yes.
being able to release these toxins and release this excess weight. So that's where Dr.
Mhm.
Sarah comes in very heavily, because I've had people who exercise with me regularly and I'm like, look, something else is going on with your body, because I know that you just had a tough workout. I
You
need
sh Yes, yes, you should be coming on down on this scale.
it,
So let's
right?
go check on those adrenals. Okay, yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Your thyroid. Yeah.
Now, and the other conditions that you want to be mindful about that are helped with exercise would be high blood pressure, high cholesterol. The cholesterol seems to respond better than the blood pressure. I find that blood pressure really, really, medicine is just it really helps. And then
Yeah.
working on what is the root cause of the high blood pressure. Exercise hasn't I haven't seen as much data saying that it really helps with the high blood pressure as much as it could, unless it's helping you to change that inflammation panel and reduce your stress. Because I find
Yeah.
that blood pressure isn't just like a weight related thing. Some people are very
Mm.
healthy and they have high blood pressure. There are very fit and healthy people who have high cholesterol, but high cholesterol's link to heart disease isn't as strong. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, because I just want to.
Yeah.
I find that the cholesterol is a 50-50. Sometimes it's linked to heart disease and sometimes it isn't. But the blood pressure is pretty significant and you want to get that taken care of, like ASAP.
Yeah.
Not that the cholesterol
I would
isn't.
say, yeah, I would say cholesterol makes me think of it makes me think of like strokes, heart attacks, because it causes your heart vessels to harden and to
Yeah,
become clogged. And then think pieces of that fat and that calcified fat can uh, chip off and then, cause a clot and all of those. But then when I think of the damage that high blood pressure does to the heart, it weakens the heart.
right.
So exactly. So I think of the way I explain it with my patients is, if you think of, my dad is all about cars. So he's a car man. If you think of a really nice classic car, right? And you decide that you want to drive it and you are gunning it 70 miles an hour all day, every day, everywhere you go, that car is not going to last much long. It's not going to last long. It cannot be driven hard and fast all the time and expect it to last for 30 years. That's not going to happen. The same thing with your heart. If your blood pressure and your heart rate is always elevated, that means your heart is working boom, 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 just beating fast, hard, and fast all the time. Your heart's not going to be able to maintain that rate for very long. And then you tend to see folks with untreated high blood pressure who tend to have congestive heart failure, because the heart, which is a muscle, when it works and it's pumping so hard and so often, it can grow in size, and then it becomes a bit floppy, to
Yeah.
say. I have a better word for that, but it doesn't have that strength to pump the blood throughout the body, and so then you get heart failure. You also get issues with your kidneys. So that's kind of the main difference I see between like cholesterol and high blood pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm not saying that the cholesterol isn't something to address. I'm saying that exercise
Yeah.
seems to be more effective at reducing cholesterol than blood pressure. So when you're thinking about,
Mhm.
talking with your doctor about what you should be doing, just keep that in mind.
Now that kind of makes sense though, because when you think about carbs and protein and fat, fat provides the most energy. It burns, I don't know how many kilocalories
It's like 9.
per calorie. Yeah, I think it is 9. Yep. But it burns the most energy. So it would make sense that exercise would improve the cholesterol picture, because you're burning that fat and it's less likely to be stored,
Yeah.
in the body. So that's
Now,
really interesting.
what might be, this is me, you guys, we're just kind of talking a little bit, and Sarah and I get all crazy ideas when we talk to each other. But it might be that doing more mind body exercise would be more beneficial for high blood pressure. And I'd have to investigate that. I know that they have
Yeah.
used
Mhm.
deep breathing and meditation and slow
Yes.
moving things like yoga and Tai Chi to help with blood pressure. And those things I have found to
Absolutely.
help. Yeah.
Yes. Biofeedback is a tool or modality that uses your own body signals to kind of adjust your body. So, for example, you can use it with blood pressure. We found that blood pressure or heart rate and your breath rate kind of follow the same kind of pattern. And so if you can, the reason why I love that 4 and 6 breath rate, like an inhale for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 6, is because it brings your heart rate into rhythm. So it brings your heart rate into 6 breaths per minute. So if you're someone who struggles with like a high heart rate or high blood pressure, you can kind of use that blood or that breathing rate. And if you do an in person biofeedback session, you'll be able to see your heart rate follow the breath and the rate of your breath. So yes, you're absolutely right. Mind body stuff does have a really big impact on high blood pressure.
Aha. And I did the 4-6
Yeah.
breathing while you were talking just for practice.
Yeah, it's so easy because you can just say in 1, 2, 3, 4, and out 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So easy.
Now, the other thing I wanted to bring up with heart health is that exercise can also help with blood sugar management, and diabetes is also linked to heart disease. So, being able to
Yeah.
manage your blood sugar better through exercise. And I think those are the main medical diagnoses. And then, of course, you guys may know about smoking was like cool until like the 90s. And then it's like, oh, you should never smoke on
Yeah.
the planet Earth. So, obviously, smoking is one of those things that you need to like
Yeah.
maybe shy away from. It does not have a lot of beneficial qualities for the
Yeah.
body.
It's funny as a millennial, I'm like, it's an ignorant question for me, but for me to ask. I'm like, people still smoke? Like, because we're the generation that have the no smoking, the it gives you cancer, the people, all the people with like the tracheotomies and stuff
Yeah.
in the commercials trying to scare you. So when I mean, I feel like we're in the last generation that is still smoking, or probably very few of us still smoke.
You would
But
be
yes, very good
amazed.
point.
I find that people who work in healthcare, God bless us, I find more people smoking outside of the hospital who are not patients.
That's wild. That is wild.
But think about what people are getting from the nicotine and what they're getting from the
Yeah,
breathing. Because when you smoke, you are deep breathing, right? So you
that
are
is true.
getting a stress relief, and working in a high stress environment.
I was
Sometimes,
just about to say, I mean, got to take the edge off somehow.
yeah. So hopefully we can find like a healthier way for our healthcare professionals. I mean, I'm not saying it's only healthcare professionals, just that I work in healthcare, and I'm like, sometimes I walk out and I'm like, you smoke? You're a nurse. You know better. But
Like that's your business. I'm
no
gonna let you
judgment.
live it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up because there are a lot of different benefits of exercise. So yes, it can lower blood pressure, although we know that it's more effective with cholesterol than blood pressure in some populations. Um, I'm glad that you brought up that it can help balance blood sugar and increase insulin sensitivity. And that's because our muscles love sugar. They love to use sugar as energy. So the more you activate those muscles, the more sugar they'll use. And then you'll have less of that glucose hanging around in your blood, less likely to become diabetic or pre diabetic, and less likely for your liver to turn that sugar into fat because nobody wants that.
Yeah, we're not trying to store too much fat.
And if you had and if you hear my dog barking, she's a chihuahua. That's
That's
just
what
how
they
she
do.
that's what she does. I've learned to accept it. um, exercise can improve sleep. But of course, you want to have this balance where you don't work out too close to bedtime. I've seen a couple of studies that's like, 2 hours before bedtime is fine. I think that's a little close to bedtime personally. So I would say 3 to 4 hours, but you are our resident expert. So how shortly before bed should we be working out?
I think it really depends on the person. For me, I can work out before bed and it feels like a nice release. I'm sweaty, then I go take a shower and I go right to sleep. There are other people who, when they exercise, they get all like buzzy and whoa, and they're amped up and they're like, I can take on the world now. And they can just like go clean the whole house and do all this stuff. So it really depends on the person. But a lot of people, according to the research, a lot of people do need to space it out 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. And they say similar things about when you're eating too, to just kind of let your body go into that resting state without having all this extra hormone stuff shooting around through your bloodstream and keeping you awake. So if you are a person who knows exercise does help you to actually sleep, like if you have anxiety or if you're feeling stressed and you're having trouble going to sleep, sometimes doing exercise can help you kind of shake off and get rid of some of those stress hormones. And then that
Yeah.
can allow you to be able to calm down and relax. And the mode of exercise matters. So if you're doing a more mind body relaxing type of exercise, like a yoga or deep breathing, meditative kind of exercise where you're moving through Tai Chi poses or Qigong or stuff like that, then those are probably okay because they're slow, no, not high intensity. But if you're doing a high intent, like if you're doing CrossFit, you very well might have a
Live.
hard time going to sleep. And don't
Because
do CrossFit
please.
unless you are really ready for CrossFit, because CrossFit can increase your risk of having a heart incident because it's highly inflammatory. And some people's bodies can handle that because they're trained for it. Everybody cannot take a highly inflammatory workout and then be fine.
Yep. And women, especially for trying to get pregnant, like high intensity workouts can actually have the opposite effect and make it a bit harder for you to become pregnant. So, yeah, good things to consider. I found this really interesting thing. Um, I found a study that said that exercise can improve brain power by slowing the loss of brain tissue.
Oh yeah.
That we can start losing and shrinking brain tissue. Um, I mean, I knew that happened, but I didn't know it started as early as your 30s. Like, oh my God, I
Everything
need
starts
this.
to go downhill after 30 if
But
you
it's
don't
crazy
get
because this is the
it.
time. This is the time in my life where I really need my brain. Okay, like
Yeah.
when I was 2 and 3, that's cute, that's fine. Yes, I'm learning how to walk and read and all that. I needed to live. Okay, to make money to live.
Yeah. You're
I
like,
need
this
my
is when I
brain.
need you. Why are you trying to leave me?
Yes, don't leave me.
But
So
I
I
will
I
say,
thought that was fascinating.
yeah, well, I don't know. So now I'm speculating. So everyone just speculate with me. But the
That's fine.
possibility could be that we didn't live this long before. And so we didn't, like, we were in midlife at 30. You're about to
That's true.
die, right?
That's true. Yeah.
That sounds terrible to say out loud. But
That's not a thumbs up. This I don't know why it always does that. I'm not thumbing
oh,
up.
when you put your hand up, it does that.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, like, so you were midlife at 30. So one would think that, yeah, when you hit midlife, things start to decline. But there is research to show that if you start doing things to counter those things, you can either, like, I mean,
Yeah.
there are people who've never exercised, start exercising in their 60s. They're healthier in their 60s than they were in their 30s. So
Makes
it
sense. Yeah.
really, the research is based on the average population. And if you're here listening to Dr. Sarah and I, we're not trying to be average, right? We're trying to be above average. We are overachievers. We have lists for our to-do lists to make sure that the to-do list isn't lonely. Okay.
Okay, yes, company.
So we're not trying to just age and live as the average American, right? We're trying to age and live and thrive like those blue zone folks. We
Yeah.
want to thrive. So those people in the blue zones probably aren't experiencing that. They probably have less dementia. They probably have less heart disease. They probably have less
Mhm.
inflammatory conditions like arthritis, because they are moving their bodies and they are active, and they don't have an idea of, oh, now I'm this old, so I need to take it easy. They're still out there
Right,
working
right,
in the
right, right.
garden. They're still getting on the floor playing with their grandkids.
Yeah.
It's not this
And they
retired.
have a society to facilitate that too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They want to be active. They want to engage. Whereas I find that because in America, and again, this is just me talking about lifestyle. This is my opinion. It is not based in any evidence, but I find that
Yeah.
Americans tend to be on this rat race kind of situation where we're like, go, 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 get everything, because then you can retire and relax and travel. And we just stress ourselves out. We're not relaxing and traveling in our young time. We're raising our kids and we're expecting high, achievement out of them. And we're just like crazy. And then we're like, and now I've retired. And then we have a heart attack. So it's like,
Right.
you need to take on, I mean, it's very true. Like people start to develop cognitive problems or memory impairment
Yeah.
and things like that after they retire. It's like they were fine,
Yeah.
everything's fine at work, and then he retired, and all of a sudden he's having all these problems. Um, and sorry, when I get excited, I start talking fast. So I'm going to temper myself. But
You're
yes,
good.
I think we have conditioned ourselves to think, okay, until I hit that 62 or 67, whichever type of benefits I'm trying to get when I retire, I'm going to burn
Mhm.
myself out. And then I'm going to
Yeah.
relax and take it easy. And then the bottom falls out. All of that energy we're putting forth, all of a sudden now we're like, oh, I'm sick all the time. Oh, my mind is starting to go. I think if we take on that lifestyle like the Blue Zone folks,
Mhm.
more joy, more happiness, more peace, more connection with earth and nature, more community, because those are some of the things that the
Yeah.
Blue Zone folks really, embrace. And less go, 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 chasing after this, chasing after that. Like, take a break, take a vacation, take a siesta in the middle of the day, spend time with your children.
Listen.
Allow them to get a C without feeling like they're horrible people. You know what I mean? Oh, you didn't do so well in that one.
Yeah.
Work on it. Well, that might not be your thing, but you're really great at whittling. I've seen you make some
You're
beautiful.
right.
You're really great with working on the car. Nobody ever taught you that. Like, we just don't embrace the strengths that people have and allow them to exist and be. So that's my opinion. But
Absolutely.
why we see that decline, because we've conditioned ourselves to be that way. And also
Yeah.
midlife, and in midlife you would expect a little bit of a decline. Like as we get older we go up, and then as we kind of get to the peak we start to go down, and then we meet our demise.
Ease on out. Okay. Yes. No, I'm so glad that you said that because I work for my company. The company that I work for is an international one based in Europe. And honey, they don't play about their vacations over there. They're like, "Oh, it's summertime. I will not be here, and I won't be here for the next 3 weeks. So good luck. God bless.
Yes.
And I will see you." They always say that they work to live and
Yeah.
not live to work. Did I get that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it's the opposite in America, and I'm not here for it. And I'm trying to um, kind of pull myself away from that so that I can be more present in my life and not burn myself out. So that everyone's like, "Oh, I'll rest when I'm retired," and I just don't want that rest to be eternal rest. I want to actually.
Be like, well, she rested in peace now.
I want to enjoy the things that I worked so hard for. So I'm so glad you said that. So, um, I have another question, and it's a question that I get kind of often. Does having heart disease or a history of a stroke, heart attack, that sort of thing, does that impact the kind of exercise someone should be doing?
That is a really good question. It is very individualized. I've had folks who have had quadruple bypass surgery in their 80s and 90s who will come to our fitness center and exercise on the treadmill every day. They are like hardcore about their workouts. And I mean, they're not creeping, they're giving a nice, good paced walk, especially for a person their age. And those folks are doing their weights, they're walking around outside. And that's vigorous for a person of their age. Um, and that's fine for them. And then I have other folks who are very frail, and if they try to do that vigorous workout, I might be calling 911. Oh, excuse me, yes, Mrs.
Oh
Jones
no!
was trying. She tried. Can somebody please come and get her? I'm administering CPR.
Please and
so
thank you. Please, yes.
so it really depends on the person. For young people, there have been people who have had strokes at younger ages. They may have, and these are people who are usually, my experience with younger people who have had these conditions, they tend to be fit. I find that my younger sedentary
Yeah,
people don't push themselves enough to drive that a stroke or heart attack to happen because they're very sedentary. So it does tend to be my more fit people who experience that, and they may have had a genetic predisposition.
yeah,
Because usually when you're young, you can eat you can eat like trash if you're active because your body is very resilient. A lot of people can just eat whatever they want. They're young, they're exercising, they're active, and their
mhm.
labs come out good and everything's fine. And then as they get older, the body is like, okay, I can't keep. I'm trying real hard to flush out all this trash you're putting in here. You've been riding
I
real
can't
hard,
do
real
it,
rough
girl.
and hard for the past 30 years. Like, you need to slow it down. So then they do need to make a transition. But but even the people who are very fit, having a very clean diet, a healthy lifestyle, they can have these incidents. And those folks, aneurysms, which are really hard. It's like hard to
Yeah,
even, um, or like a stroke or a heart attack, with what they're able to recover, because it's not necessary that they always lose that function. Sometimes it comes back depending on how bad the episode of the attack was. They tend to be able to go back to a pretty vigorous workout, but they are now monitored by their doctor. They are now looking at
yes,
things that, maybe we didn't look at before, because usually those conditions don't happen in younger people. So the regular test
right.
that you get at your doctor would not reveal those things. It's something that, and Dr. Sarah, you would be better to talk about this, but like looking at things that I think are important that insurance doesn't cover, like C-reactive protein, which gives a very early,
Yep.
like 10 to 20 year in advance marker of whether you're going to have these conditions. That's where that functional
Mhm.
medicine and that naturopathic integrative type stuff is very important. And I personally think it's ridiculous that the insurance won't cover
Yeah,
such a simple lab that could save someone's life, because it tells you, again, 10 to 20 years in advance, when you're already having high blood pressure and elevated cholesterol. Unless it's, there are some people who have high cholesterol from their youth and it's just their baseline, it's their normal. But if you're
yeah,
having those things in your 20s and 30s and you did not have them before, it's not your baseline, you have been building this up for probably a decade or more.
quite some
We
time.
don't stop,
Yes.
you know? So to answer your question, yes, people can go back to doing vigorous exercises, but it needs to be monitored. A lot of times you'll go through a cardiac rehab program and they will kind of work
Yep.
with you. And you can look at some of the athletes who have had some cardiovascular issues, and then they go right back to playing elite sports after going through their rehab.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, um, what was his name? Hamlin. His first name, Damar Hamlin. He was the NFL player who actually
Oh, yeah,
had,
his heart stopped.
yeah, what is it? Commotio cordis or something like that, something Latin,
Yeah.
where the force to the chest was so intense that, and
And
it
at the right
happened in
moment of
between
time.
beats,
Yeah.
right? Exactly, in between beats that caused the heart to be out of rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point. So yeah, if you have had a history of heart disease, stroke, heart attack, absolutely talk to your cardiologist before adopting any exercise regimens for sure.
And I'm going to tell you guys, there is not, and I don't know if this has changed in the past 10 years, so I'd have to look it up, but so far from what I've seen, it's not changed. There's not really any specific regulation. Like if you decide tomorrow you want to call yourself a personal trainer, by all means, you can just put up a sign in your yard and say I'm a personal trainer. You can go and make an Instagram page
Yeah.
and say I'm a personal trainer because I exercise and I know what I'm doing. You need to be careful about who you're working with, especially if you have these conditions, because that person
100%.
could do some things that lead you to not living anymore or having a major episode, a health episode that's, can change your life and your function forever. So I think
Yeah.
it's very important that when you're working with like if I'm working with people, I have them do paperwork before I have them start exercising. I clear them with their doctor. Is this person safe for exercise? And that requires looking at, their labs, their blood pressure, their heart rate. I've had clients when I check their blood pressure, I'm like, ma'am, you're not exercising with me today. I'm going to have you go ahead and see your doctor because you have high blood pressure. And if you don't have it all the time, you're having it
I
at
know
this.
that's right.
So just make sure that if you're working with a trainer, that they're legit, like make sure they have a certification from a
Yes.
reputable organization. So the American College of Sports Medicine, the American Council on Exercise, IDEA,
Okay.
NSCA. There's lots of organizations, and some of them are good and some of them are not good. So just do your homework and make sure your trainer is qualified to work with you. Because I went to a gym just to see what their trainers were like, because I was like, maybe I'll work here, maybe I won't. Let me see if this is worth
Yeah.
me. So I pretended like I wanted a membership. And of course, I ended up paying for that membership because they put it on your card and then you have to cancel it in 30 days. So I kept paying for that membership and I didn't want to work out at that gym. Scam.
Don't you hate when
I did eventually cancel it.
I
But
hate it?
the point of the story is the guy who trained me, because you get a free personal training session. The guy who trained me was an ex-football player, very nice guy. He said, "What do you want to work on?" I said, "I want to tone up my arms. I want my arms to look nice, So he was like, "Okay." This dude took me through 30 minutes of heavy strength training on my biceps and my triceps for 30 minutes. And I knew it was not okay. But at the time I was in college, I was fit, I was in grad
Yeah.
school. I was like, okay, I'm just looking for a part-time job, whatever. So I did it. I was like, whatever. When I got in the car,
I was like, could you move?
like, I know you guys can't see me if you're listening. Like my hands were, I had tremors. Like my hands were shaking. I could barely get the key in the ignition.
Oh,
And
no.
I was like, I have to drive home like this. Like my arms, because I was over fatigued. Because this guy, some trainers think that, oh, if I make this person puke, or if I make them so weak when they leave, they're going to think, oh my God, I really need to work out. I'm so weak. And that's
I
what you might
won't
think.
even let you get me to that point.
Oh my
I
God,
won't
girl.
even allow it. At that point, I'm like, you friend, you're doing entirely too much. I'm gonna go drink some water and then you're gonna show me what else we got to do today. Cause I'm
Right.
no.
Give me some legs in here, okay? Because look,
I
I
have
did it
far too
because
many
I was
things to
trying
do.
to prove to this dude, like, you're not gonna break me just because you're a football player. Like, so whatever. So I did it. I was in college, whatever. I recovered. The next day I was fine.
Yeah.
But I'm a person who was being very fit at that time, and I was like
Yes.
very active. And so, the average person, that would have been awful. In fact, if it was me, I would have never come back to that gym. I would have been like, this guy's crazy.
Period. Okay. Bye. No.
But then there's other people who are going to feel like, oh my God, I should have been able to do that. I bet everybody else can do that. And then they would just keep coming and letting this person abuse them, So make sure your trainer is not just like some person who decided that they wanted to be a personal trainer and have no credentials and don't know how to keep you safe.
Such a good point. Such a good point. This takes me into my next question. The recommendation is 30 minutes of exercise every day. In your opinion, do you feel like this is enough for like the average American for heart health?
Yeah. So when you talk about the average American, in honesty, the average American is very sedentary. And so that is
Mm-hmm.
probably a lot for the average American. Getting people to exercise, and I think it's like 30 minutes at least 5 times a week, ideally every day, right? So if
Yeah.
they do, because it's 150 minutes, that is just for maintenance. That's not to get stronger, to improve your heart health. That is just like at a bare minimum. If you want to continue
Oh,
existing on this plane, try to go to the spiritual realms, you need to move your body 30 minutes a day with an intention. So like not just like
wow.
walking around the office or whatever, but intentionally exercising, meaning I planned an exercise routine and I did that for 30 minutes. I put in a video or I went outside for a walk and it was moderately intense because that's moderate intensity, meaning
Yeah.
you can low intensity means Sarah and I could be like walking and having a whole conversation and laughing and having a good time cutting up. Moderate intensity means Sarah and I are walking and we might have to do a little bit of this when we're talking because we're pushing ourselves a little bit, right? But you can still breathe, you
Yeah.
can still have a
Yeah.
conversation. And then vigorous is I can't keep talking to you right now. So that's like a highly
Yeah.
vigorous workout, right? So that's moderate intensity, and that's going to be different for each person. A very fit person's moderate is different than a less fit person's moderate. So that's why we use the talk test, which is what I just demonstrated there. You should be able to
Yeah.
talk with a little shortness of breath. Um, so for the average American, according to the research, yes, that is enough. They need to do that just for maintenance. Is that going to improve your heart health? Maybe, especially if you weren't doing anything before. But
Yeah.
to improve the heart health, you need to accumulate more minutes of physical activity. And you can get those minutes in many different ways. Walking up the stairs, which may be a very slow process if you don't normally do it. 2 at a time, catch your breath, take another 2.
Yes. No shame in your game. Okay. Yes.
Might be and this is like the old stuff because you have to remember a lot of this like heart disease and obesity stuff started to increase in the like 80s when more women
Yeah.
went into the workforce. The diet of the average American changed to more processed food. Life
Yeah.
got more busy, people became more sedentary, more computers and like everything was changing at that time. Whereas in those blue zones, those people typically are doing things the old fashioned way. They're making their own bread, they have a garden, what I mean?
Yeah.
Not always, because I think there's a group in California. I think they're Seventh Day Adventists, maybe. So they have a different lifestyle and they tend to eat a more plant
Oh.
based diet. But in the more international places, they tend to have a more old school style of living that's more in connection with nature and community. So that being said, we went away from that in the United States once, I don't know, technology started to boom, industry started to boom, and we just
Hmm.
we just were off to the races. So we've enhanced our lives in different ways, but we've reduced the quality of our lives in other ways. One of them being that we have a lot of automated things. People used to have to open the garage door. They used to have to hand wash their clothes, and if they didn't have to hand wash, they had a washer. They may not have a dryer, so they were hanging their clothes to dry.
Yeah.
Our lifestyles were designed to be active, so sedentary was like not a thing unless you were what people would probably say he's just lazy because it wasn't an option
Yeah.
because you had to
Yes.
do things.
Exactly.
There weren't
Yes.
machines to do it for you. Um,
Yeah.
so that being the case, the average American is doing so much more sitting now, and that's when you'll see that curve for obesity, heart disease, and stuff start to go up. Now, mind you,
Hmm.
we are living longer, so I don't want to act
Yeah.
like things have not gotten better in certain ways. But the incidences of obesity and heart disease is increasing, and it's happening at younger ages since the mid 80s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
Now,
Yeah. I've seen teenagers with the cholesterol of like a 60-year-old or a 70-year-old.
yeah.
Like, please put the talkies down, please.
Yeah. Oh my God. And
Yes.
then them Takis, I've heard that they mess up your gut. I mean, look, one Taki
I
like
can
that every
imagine.
now and then is not a big deal. But I mean, some kids are eating like 3 bags and then there's like a hole in their intestines. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I try to get my niece low, so she's like, "You want some TT?" Nah, I'm good. I'm good.
And look, we're not saying don't ever eat Takis. We're just saying don't eat 3 bags in a row every day. That stuff is hot.
For certain. For certain. Okay, last question, and then we will get on out of here. What are some of your go-to low impact exercises? And then what are some of like your personal favorite exercises? And I'll chime in too.
Okay. Um, For low impact exercises, I think if you have access to a swimming pool, I think that swimming is a really good exercise. It's easy on the
Mhm.
joints. A lot of people who are at risk for heart disease tend to have excess weight. So, doing something that makes you kind of weightless, like the water does, can be very good for your body and allow you to exercise for a longer period of time because you're less likely to have pain when you're exercising in the water. So, whether that's
Right.
swimming, water aerobics, just walking back and forth in the water, and they have these little like glove things that can give you resistance and you can move your arms back and forth. I think that's a good place to start. And it's
Nice.
yeah, I just like water aerobics. It's nice. um Also, walking. I think walking, if you don't have problems with your knees and your back, and walking isn't something that makes you feel uncomfortable, then I think taking a walk is good. If you don't have a safe space to walk, like outside, or you don't have access to a gym or a treadmill or a track, just walking around your house. I don't care if you literally walk in circles in your living room, just put on some music and just get your arms moving and just walk around the living room. Um,
Yeah.
while you're watching TV, you can sit down and march with your legs and move your arms. That also gives you a nice workout. Seated exercise. There are plenty of people who are, you know, in a position where they have to use a wheelchair, and that doesn't mean that they have to be unfit. They can be very active. I've seen people in wheelchairs who are far stronger than I am, especially in the upper body. And
For certain.
you can
Yes.
do sit-ups holding onto your chair like it's strapped to your body, and you're like, ugh, sit up.
Yes.
I'm like, let me just try to do chin ups with this chair to stand on so I can just give myself a little boost over the bar. Um,
Love it.
so seated exercises are good. There are lots of videos on YouTube of gentle seated exercise or 1 mile walks that you can do. I know my mother loved doing her 1 mile walking video, and you just do that in your living room. You just walk in your bedroom.
Nice.
Um, and then, as far as strength exercises go, if you don't have exercise equipment, you can kind of fake it. If you have like a big laundry detergent bottle that's old, and you can put like as much water as you feel comfortable within there. You can make it heavier by adding water or make it lighter by pouring water out. And you can use those
Mhm.
as your hand weights. You can also
Oh,
like
that's
take a tote
smart.
bag. Yeah, it's like you don't have to go spend a bunch of money. You can get a tote bag and then put into the tote bag things that have a little weight, like maybe a couple of books, and then do exercises with those. You can hold like a dictionary or encyclopedia. I know if you're born in the 2000s, you're probably like, what's an encyclopedia? It's a heavy book that has lots of information in it that they now put online. So you can have like a heavy
Google in
dictionary,
print.
right? So you can hold that book and do that as your arm exercises. And then, as Sarah and I spoke about earlier, simply standing up and sitting down from a chair is a very good exercise, especially if you can work your way up to doing it without having to use your arms. Climbing up and down stairs. So if you have stairs in your house, just climbing up and down the stairs, take your time. You don't have to run up and down. Um, those are my favorite, like just low intensity exercises. And I don't have a blanket recommendation for what people should do, but that 30 minutes a day of activity for maintenance, just to maintain your health, is definitely a
Yeah.
good place to start. And then incorporating more activity into your day throughout your routine. So making like a little alarm on your phone that goes off every 2 hours. Every 2 hours, I'm going to get up and do something. Maybe I'll do 10 squats, or maybe I'll do some push ups on the wall, or maybe I'll walk around, the office and come back and sit down. But just kind of getting more movement into your day so that your muscles and your heart and your joints are getting that activity. And then
Yeah.
I also think it's very, very important to do something for your mind body too. Something that makes you feel good in your body. And I find that stretching, yoga, or breathing exercises are fabulous. You can actually improve your respiratory and heart health by simply having a regular routine of doing breathing exercises, because most people do not
Mm.
breathe deeply. They breathe into their chest,
Yeah.
short, choppy
Yep.
breaths. So when you do breathing exercises, you're breathing deeply into your chest, you're expanding your lung capacity, and you are exercising your lungs, which are also a what?
Come on, muscle.
Okay. So like
Yeah.
doing those things can help improve your lung capacity, and it's like an easy exercise to do. You can do it when someone's getting on your nerves, and you can just say, time for 4-6 breathing while I listen to them fuss.
My toddler, she's screaming and crying about something. I'm just gonna close my eyes and inhale. And I do it so often that they'll do it with me, or when I open my eyes, they're like, "Mommy, are you feeling better?" Slightly.
Or
I
they'll
just
say, do you need to do more breathing, mommy? Yes, I do. I do. Can you
yes.
maybe take 2 steps back from me? You can be in the room, but please take two
Right.
steps back, because I need my energetic space to be a little bit free from your crying.
Yes, the
Once you get
chaos.
yourself calmed
Exactly.
down, you can be there and hold space for them and cuddle them and love them through their issue. Because, you know, they're still kids.
Absolutely.
If we can't handle our emotions all the time, we know they can.
Girl, I have to remind myself she literally just got here. She just got
She trying to
here.
figure this
Okay.
out.
Yes. For me, I think my go-to are very similar. Walking, and it's funny when I was a teenager and in college, my mom would be like, "Yeah, I walk all the time." I'm like, "No, walking is just not. It's not rigorous enough. Okay, I need to be in the gym, dripping sweat. Okay, I gotta get it." And now, as an adult, I'm like, "Girl, let me go ahead and get outside in this fresh air and get this walk in." So I love walking. We have a pretty big yard, so I will kick the soccer ball back and forth, either when I'm on a call or in between calls. Um, what else? Really, I think it's underestimated, but playing with my children. Okay, I
Hmm.
have a 5 and a 3 year old. They love to be chased. They
Oh,
love Monster Mommy. Yeah, so that gets my cardio up. I get to chase them. Um, and, it activates all my muscles. And of course, it's good for heart health as well.
and you're moving high and low,
Yoga and swimming. Yes, exactly. Because they're little people. So you got to drop
right?
down low and then jump in and all kind of crazy stuff. So, yeah, I have a personal question,
Okay.
okay, that I would love to ask you. So, I'm a Taurus, okay, and that tends to mean that I like the finer things in life, okay. And so when I'm looking to add to my home gym or really create a home gym, honestly, and I'm looking at treadmills, okay. I really want the Peloton tread, okay, but I do not have $6,000, so I've been looking at some alternatives, like Nordic Track is one. Bowflex, I was looking at the Bowflex one. When choosing home workout equipment, um, it's easy to get trapped into all the features. Like it has a 22-inch screen and quiet tread and all this stuff. What are some of the things that you feel like is most important when choosing um, home workout equipment?
Yeah, I will give you a global answer there because my experience with people who are calling me, so my
Mhm.
experience is going to be a little bit off, is that they're not exercising and they have the equipment and their clothes are hanging on it or it's covered in a layer of dust. I mean, it's slid under the bed. It's in the basement in front of the TV because they swore they were going to sit on that bike and watch TV. They was like, "Oh, I'm really going to
Yeah,
do this." So it's in front of the TV, and then they will sit on the couch and look at that bike and say, "Yep, and go right back to
I'm
watching
gonna get
TV.
back to that. Yep, yep.
So I know that my experience is a little bit off because my people tend to need someone to help them. They need someone to encourage them and motivate them. So when it
Yeah,
comes to buying home equipment or purchasing a gym membership or signing up for something, I think the answer is whatever exercise you actually enjoy. Like if you
yeah,
think walking on the treadmill would be good, but you know you hate walking on the treadmill, then that treadmill is just going to sit in
okay,
your house most likely. Most likely, it may not. Some people will just do stuff that they hate and just be like, I hate this every time I do it. It sucks. But there are other
never mind.
people who are
No,
like, I'm going to go outside and walk, and then when it's cold outside, I'll get on my treadmill. So if that's you, then get a treadmill that is accommodating to what you want for your workout. If you want to do
yeah,
inclines and hills and you want a program that's going to go up and down so that you're being challenged without you having to do anything, then you may have to get a little bit more of a higher end treadmill to accommodate that. If
yeah,
it's only going to be used by you, and you're not running sprints, you don't have to get something that's super fancy. But if you are like a distance runner and you're going to be on that thing for like maybe 2 hours because you got a marathon coming up or something, then you're going to need a higher quality machine. So it really depends on what it is that you want to do and what you enjoy. I think some of the best exercise equipment you can have is music. So get you a little Pandora for $5 a month or something, or just turn on,
no,
and you get commercial free. Or find like a YouTube playlist that just keeps going on and on and on. And then do whatever movement makes you feel good. So if you like doing yoga and you will do that, get a little YouTube playlist and do your yoga movements at your own pace or find a YouTube video that does it. If you like dancing and and you were watching the Super Bowl and you couldn't sit your tail down during the Usher performance. You were
Honey, because
dancing
Usher was out here skating this way and that
I
way.
was like, not the skates,
I
boo.
definitely got my workout in.
Look, dance the whole program, put on a show of my own. So if that's what
And
you're
I'm about to go to the concert in October, sir. Come on.
So if that's what gets you going, then that's a very cost effective way to exercise and it's something that you enjoy. But if I love the Peloton workouts, those are for people who really do want a vigorous, challenging workout. Those are personal trainers, coaches. They are going to push you to your limits. And if you are ready for that and you're going to do it, if you have the $6,000, because look, we'll spend money on whatever we want, right? If we really need this car and we have to do this, we'll find the money. So if it's something that you know you would do, then do it because that Peloton stuff is serious. The people who do it regularly, they are getting that workout. You can do 2 or 3 a day, but
See.
if you're not going to actually do the workouts and it's just a really fun idea, then don't waste the money because you're not going to do it, right? So
Okay,
know
so what you're
yourself.
saying, is I'm gonna tell my husband not to watch the last 5 minutes of this podcast because he's gonna be like, Cece already said you just need some music, you just need some YouTube. No, let me go ahead get my treadmill. Okay. No, what I know about myself is I like immersive experiences.
Yeah.
So that's why I like the Peloton because I'm like, yeah, I want to hike in Hawaii, but I don't want to be
Yeah.
there. Like I
It's got a
like
screen. It really takes you there, right?
right,
And there's other
exactly.
people.
Yeah. So I know Bowflex has one, Nordic Track also has one. I really want the Peloton, but my bank account says be smart. So I'm gonna be smart. But maybe one day when I get
Yeah.
my she shed, I will also get my Peloton.
Yes.
The
Because I,
tread, not the
I
bike,
do. I
because
love
no.
those Peloton workouts. I haven't gotten it, but I know that if I did get it, I would be like in love with it. But do what works for you. Do what exercise you
Yeah.
know you'll stick to. If you love,
Yeah.
we have a friend who likes to roller skate and that's her workout. And roller skating is a fabulous workout, whole body,
I want to
right?
get into that more.
Yeah. So find what exercise really suits you. And then when it comes to equipment, really try it out too. Like if you go to a place, say, can I get on it? Can I see what it feels like?
Mhm.
Because like ellipticals have their base is like set at a certain spacing. So you can kind of slide your feet on that platform. But sometimes the ellipticals aren't right for your hips, the way how wide your hips are or how narrow your
Yeah.
so and the seat, like if you get one of those bicycle things, sitting on the seat, sometimes it's like really wildly uncomfortable and you need a seat like a recumbent bike.
Incredibly. Okay, that's why I will not. No. Soul Cycle sounds fun. I don't have the cheeks for it. Sorry. Sorry. But Victoria had a really interesting comment. So they have an app on the virtual reality headset that has immersive exercises like that. Okay, so what you're saying is instead of a Peloton, I need an Apple Vision Pro. See, you guys,
And look, I'm
thank
gonna
you.
tell you, I did a boxing game on a VR headset, and I'm competitive. So, I was trying to beat the other boxer. Like I'm busting my tail. I'm like, "Foo, foo, 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 foo." I'm like, let me get him with this one too, because I wanted to win. So if that's
That
you,
is so cool.
that VR stuff is really gonna work for you. Now, if you're kind of like, oh, whatever, I'm just having fun, it may not work for you. But if you get hyped up for those immersive experiences, that is a very good idea.
Okay. I like it. Well, for the sake of time, I think we're gonna wrap up today's episode. I think it was wonderful talking about all the different ways that exercise can improve our heart health, and if you are also someone with a history of heart disease, how exercise can help you maintain and improve your heart health. As always, thank you guys for listening. If you end up wanting support from myself or Coach Cece, please visit ellisfamilywellness.com to book a free discovery call with either of us. Please don't forget to rate and subscribe, like and share with your friends and family. And we will see you all next Tuesday on the Black Girl's Guide to Natural Medicine.
Bye.